Breachers starts off our list of the most played games of the year. Breachers is a 5v5 multiplayer shooter that has you either trying to infiltrate or defend with all kinds of different equipment, including a vast array of weapons, but even things like charges to where you can blow out windows and walls to make your way into the targets. This game launched to a lot of acclaim and still seems to be one of the top played games out there, with over 3,000 people reviewing this thing, giving it about a 4.7 rating. 83% of those are 5 stars. People saying it's awesome, the gadgets and the mechanics make the game really fun. People saying it's a 10 out of 10, it's the best game on Quest. And if you look down to those 4% 1-star reviews, people saying that they don't like the cloak that's in it, they said it's too OP. People saying since the update, they're finding they're getting put into games that aren't balanced. But devs responding to all these, saying that they are currently working on the issues to make the game even better. And of course, there's some comments about toxicity, as you're going to see in any multiplayer game, although a surprising number of the most played games are single-player games. Asgard's Wrath 2 is a single-player game that launched pretty recently to already be making the most played games. This, of course, is the sequel to the amazing PCVR only game Asgard's Wrath, and it did come free with the purchase of any Quest 3 this last year. Asgard's Wrath is known already as being one of the biggest action RPGs in VR, with the game promising easily over 60 hours of gameplay. Of course, depending on your playstyle, it could be a lot longer than that. High price tag of $60 might be part of the reason, though it does have a lower rating at 4.2 stars with over 3,500 ratings. Some people saying it's a bit overwhelming, even though it's a great game, it's a lot to learn and it is worth it. People saying they love the cutscenes. People saying it's just the best standalone game there is. And most of the lower reviews citing issues with the game not wanting to load, game crashing on them, or glitches that have just made the game harder to play. This game to me clearly is one of the best examples for Quest 3, obviously made for the Quest 3, but it is a game you're going to have to invest a lot of time in even to get fully into the game, understand the mechanics, but you'll get a lot of time out of it. For all the games in today's list that it's possible to do, there will be links down in the comments description down below that'll save you money if you do want to get the games. That is through Meta's referral credit system, where people can refer other people for games, although the best thing to do if you really want to get one of these games and save some money is probably to join our Discord and go to the referral link section, because although I can put in referral links, I'm maxed out on credit. I can't get anything for it, so it's better if all of you refer each other to the games and save money that way. There'll be links to that down below too. The I Expect You to Die has been a wildly popular series of VR escape room puzzle type games, and the third one in the series came out just a matter of months ago, already making the most played games list. The entire series pits you as a spy in a world where everything is trying to kill you, and you die repeatedly in levels trying to figure out what you did wrong and how to make it through the puzzles. Surprisingly, even though it's about as old as some of the other games that made this list, it only has over 800 ratings, but a very high rating of about a 4.8. Almost everyone giving this thing 5 stars, with 91% and just 2 or 3% across the board on the rest. People saying it's a brilliant game, although the price for how many missions you get is a little low. People saying it's one of the most creative and fun games, and people even giving tips about how other people who are giving low ratings saying the game is not passable at a certain point are actually saying it's because you have something already on your head and you have to remove that thing to move forward. And if you do go search for the low reviews, people saying that the game was lagging for them, saying certain puzzles are stopping them from going, although that may be down to user error, as we saw in previous comments, and some people saying that the first two were just better. Personally, the I Expect You to Die series has been one of my favorite series, and it's been around since some of the very early days of VR, so there might be some of those rose-colored glasses I'm looking through, but I would highly recommend, if you haven't played them, play through the whole series. Assassin's Creed Nexus VR, of course, the game from the Assassin's Creed series, finally designed for VR. Considered a AAA game with tons of great ratings from different online media outlets, giving it 95 out of 100, 9.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10. All kind of surprising, since Ubisoft themselves actually said that they were disappointed in the sales of Assassin's Creed, but coming out around the same time as some of the other big holiday games, it has garnered over 3,000 ratings, also giving it a lower one like Asgard's of about 4.2. Another 71% 5-star ratings. People saying it's a must-have, it's a great VR game, a masterpiece from Ubisoft, but people in the lower reviews saying it was underwhelming, saying that the beginning just didn't live up to what they were expecting in the game and they returned it. People bringing up optimization issues, some people not liking the parkour methods of how you get around in the game. It's another game with a high price tag for VR, at least at around $40. I do wonder if the price was lower, if people would have given it better ratings, because they felt like they paid a lot for something that they expected to be a really full game. I never played much of the flat Assassin's Creed games though, so I'd love to know in the comments from those of you who did, how did this live up to that? Swordsman VR making the list. This game is often called a budget Blade and Sorcery, although it is the same price, but because it came out after Blade and Sorcery and modeled some of the same combat styles, it gets compared a lot. Swordsman is a physics-based medieval combat simulator, heavily relying on weapon-to-weapon combat, hand-to-hand combat, although they have added a bit more distance weapons. It takes you through all different parts of the world too, whether you're fighting knights, Vikings, Mongols, samurai, and the game has changed a lot since it launched several years ago, actually on original PSVR. With over 1,000 ratings, it's down to just a 4-star rating, with a decent split between 57% 5 stars and about 12% 1 stars. People saying it's cool, it's great, it's really really fun, but people saying it is fun at first and then it gets boring. People saying that it's way overpriced, although this is a $20 game. People bringing up lag, or people bringing up that it can be too easy to kill the enemies. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people who came from Blade and Sorcery, which has been in development longer, were a little disappointed by this game, but as this game stands on its own, it is a fun combat simulator, although you can find ways to hack your way through the levels a little too easily sometimes, but I have enjoyed a lot of time I've spent with Swordsman. Battle Talent is a game we've talked about because it was free in beta for a very long time. It finally got its full launch on the Meta Store at a price of $19.99. This is a roguelite sword fighting game that is also physics-based, with tons of different weapons, enemies, perks, different game modes, mod support, and with all that, a decently high rating of about a 4.6 with over 1,300 ratings. 79% 5-star ratings, and then just a little bit of split between the lower scores, people saying it's just amazing, people saying they loved it when it was in its free stage, but the full version exceeds expectations and is definitely worth the price. People saying they'd give the game more stars if they could. Some people comparing it to the free version that they played and saying they like the free version better though. Some people saying the physics don't feel right to them, even saying it feels like you have the strength of a toddler, and people saying it feels like it wasn't ready to come out of App Lab yet. Overall though, a really good rating, shows a lot of people have taken and accepted this, and that's surprising for a game that was free for so long, because oftentimes when they come out with a paid version, the score suffers as a result. Kill It With Fire VR is one of those VR games that it may not have the most amazing graphics, but it makes up for it in immersion, scare factor, and just sheer fun. With people living out the fantasies of what they could do when they find a real spider in their real house, you can do it virtually by killing the spiders in your house with everything out there, from ninja stars to rocket launchers. There's different kinds of spider species, different weapons, a realistic fire simulation system in case you want to just burn the whole thing down, and a lot more as they continue to patch the game and bring more into it. About a 4.3 rating with a less number of ratings for one of the most played games, around 400 ratings. A lot of them are 5-star at 70%. People saying if you go through your settings and you find the way to get unlimited ammo, that really unlocks how fun it is. People saying it's awesome, they love it, it's just what they wanted. A consistent complaint in the lower reviews though is that the paper trail level has issues and crashes the game, although the developer says in their responses that they have now fixed that issue, it shouldn't be a problem anymore, and people bring up some glitches, but really most of the low reviews seem to be based on that issue the game was having. At $14.99, a lot of fun. As long as you're not a serious arachnophobe, I would say it's worth checking out. It's no surprise that once Roblox finally made it to Quest, it quickly became one of the most played games by far. This of course is the worldwide phenomenon of Roblox that has over like 60 million players a day, and all of those worlds that people have built in Roblox can be played in VR, although they're best if they were built for VR or have had VR support added. Otherwise you can just get stuck in the different rooms. Even though this was in beta for a long time after launch, it's got over 5,000 ratings, but giving it just about a 4-star rating. A hard split with 59% 5 stars and 17% 1 stars. This of course is a game that attracts a young audience, and because of that, the reviews can be very hard to sift through because there's people just making random drawings in the reviews section, not actually giving any helpful advice about the game. But if you jump to the 4 stars, which usually makes it a little easier to find the real reviews, but people saying there is a problem because a lot of the games didn't have VR support, so if you try and play it, you have a broken view, no aim system that's designed fully for VR, but people saying it still is awesome, it's Roblox in VR now. And then a lot of people giving it bad reviews though because they're saying they couldn't get in. Roblox did have a hard limit. If your account was set to under 13, it wouldn't let you in the game. So a lot of people whose accounts were set that way weren't able to get in. Some people went as far as making new accounts or figuring out a way to change the age on their account so that they could play it, but that definitely dragged the reviews down a lot. If you haven't tried it yet, if you're a fan of Roblox, you'll probably enjoy it in VR. If you were someone who never played Roblox really, you might not see the appeal as much, but it is free, so there's really nothing to lose except your time and maybe getting screamed at by some children in there. I wanted to throw in a couple honorable mentions here because some games didn't make the list for different reasons. Surprisingly, Pavlov Shack didn't. This could be because the game was in beta and then went full release last year. Although I have to imagine this is still one of the most played games with how many ratings it's had, how many people love the game. Although of course going from free to paid, some people may have not opted to buy the game. Blade and Sorcery I was really surprised to not see on the list as well. The most played games of the year does come from Meta's side and they don't give us any sort of analytics as to how they made it, but Blade and Sorcery repeatedly makes one of the most popular games on the list of most popular monthly games. Love to hear in the comments what other ones didn't make the list that surprised you out there. And of course, the most played game, no surprise here, Gorilla Tag. It's now over 100,000 ratings. Gorilla Tag is a simple game where you're bouncing around using your fists for locomotion, and it appeals especially to an audience of a very young age, so much so that it's almost impossible to find any real reviews in the review section, but people drawing different monkeys, but some people saying that they do enjoy the game and even giving ideas for what they would like to see in the future for the game game to the developers, people saying it does have the best movement, and of course Gorilla Tag has spawned a million clones just like it, and other ones even becoming very popular games on the Quest that are basically just different versions of Gorilla Tag. So those are the most played games of the year. Let me know what you agreed with, what you thought should have been there, what was missing. Thank you once again for being here with us, and I will see you in another reality.